right. So a little bit about today's market. We have a little, there we go. So there's a little chart. I always like these little buttons, but this is a 30 year for the rates. You can see it goes up, it goes down. And one thing I do like to point out right here is that pandemic interest rates are unlikely to happen again. If it goes back down to 3% again, great. You and everyone else are gonna be out there trying to buy something. If it happens, great, but I don't think it's gonna happen anytime in the near future. If it happens in 20 years, then great, then refinance at that point. Another thing I pointed out, inventory has been picking up a little bit and prices have been flattening a little bit. For a long time, they were just kind of skyrocketing. Now I will say it's leveling off a little bit. And now the homes are selling maybe a little bit under the list price, maybe a slightly over or at the list price, which is nice. It's more of a normal market. Sideline buyers are starting to look again due to the decrease in interest rates. Rates did drop a lot recently. Now they've jumped up a little bit the last couple of days, but still they're the lowest they've been in the last year or so. And then also the forecast of rates being lowered. And we're not going to get into all the Fed conversations right now, but it sounds like those rates are going to be coming down a little bit later this year. They just dropped a little bit recently, so be on the lookout for that. And then you could see right here, it was at 6.12, I think it was a couple days ago. It just jumped up a little bit, but for the longest time, it was like at 6.8, 7%. It was like 7.3%. It was up there. So you can see the little chart here, the last year kind of gone up and down. Another one I pointed out here, the homes are on the market a little bit longer. So this is something in Kimberly and I love, trying to get a deal on a home. So if you look on Zillow or somewhere, we send you a listing and you see it's been on the market for 30 days, that could be a great opportunity for us to get it for a lower price, because we're going to be able to point out things, and we're going to be able to negotiate a little bit more than if it's the first weekend on the market, they price it low and they get 5 offers. If it's been 30 days and they don't have any offers, like, this is a great opportunity for us to lowball them, and we could do our job, which is to negotiate. So that's an exciting thing about now. Also, grant programs and down payment assistance programs. Back in 2020, 2021, there wasn't many programs out there. There's a lot more out there now. I know we had a Long Beach one that just ended, but there are a lot of different programs out there that we can connect you with, and Eva can tell you more about. Shifting to more of a buyer's market with prices being negotiated and credits are being offered to buyers. That's something I've noticed a lot. Kimberly, I know she's noticed that, where we've been able to get some pretty good credits. And when we help on the list side, when it's our listing, we get a lot of buyers that ask for the world. And sometimes we kind of got to give it to them, because the market's a little bit more balanced. So if there's a reason why they're asking for that, then sometimes it actually makes sense for us to give them that price, to give a credit. So that's something to look forward to. And then we always like to point out, the best time to buy is when you're ready. We're not going to say, buy today, you're never going to have a chance. This is your last chance, and if you don't buy it now, then we're going to leave you in the dust of the world. That's not going to happen. There's going to be plenty of other opportunities out there. But if you are ready now, then we'd love to help you with that. Whether it's right now, 6 months, a year, 10 years from now, we'll still be around.
All right. So the number one thing you need to know if you're ready is money, right? So how much money do you need? Well, we've been talking a lot about down payments, right? So down payment is normally a percentage of the purchase price. Typically, you're looking at 3.5% to 20%. That's what most people do. The myth, which everyone has in their head, is that I need 20% down to buy a house. Not true at all. In fact, when we see a buyer come in that has 20% down, we're like, whoa, that's great, fantastic, right? Because most people are doing 3.5%, 5%, 10%. Those unicorns that come in with 30%. So you don't have to have 20% down. But there's some costs that are going to come up once you get into the purchase process. One is an inspection. We're highly, 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 highly going to recommend that you have a general inspector come in. They're going to take a look at the house from the roof all the way to the foundation, and they're going to give you a long, scary report telling you everything that might be wrong with the house now, things that have been wrong for a while, and things that are going to go bad very soon. Then we can take that report and try to get credits from the seller, as we were talking about before. That's going to cost you around $350, $550, depending on the size of the house. So you need to make sure you have that money set aside, because you have to pay the inspector when he shows up. Then the appraisal. Well, if you work with this team, you don't have to worry about that. But if you go and find another realtor and lender, you're going to have to pay $500 to $700, because the bank is going to say, well, hey, we're going to give you $800,000, but we want to make sure this property is worth $800,000. So they're going to send their guy out, and he's going to take a look around and say, oh, yeah, I think it's worth about this. Closing costs. You've heard me mention this a few times. This is one of those things that I find most buyers, especially first time, have no idea about. They're like, we need a down payment, and that's it. Closing costs are around 2.5% of the purchase price. And closing costs are fees and taxes, and you got to pay your lender and the title people. There's a lot of people that work on a real estate transaction, and they all have to get paid, right? So those are your closing costs. And again, around 2.5%. Just, it may be lower, but plan for 2.5%. And then your realtor. Does anyone know how we get paid? Does anyone know how we bought these empanadas for you tonight? No?
Credit card.
Right, the $1,000 credit card. Run it up. Okay, so there's been a lot in the news, especially last year, about how we get paid. So here are the facts. We are not salaried. We don't get paid by the hour. We don't get reimbursed for driving around for our gas. We're paid per job. We're independent contractors. So if we meet and we look for 6 months and we write offers and we see 500 houses and you're like, screw it, I'm moving to Texas, I get paid zero, right? So we only get compensated at the end of the close of your purchase. If you don't purchase, we don't get paid. So what we have now is what's called a buyer broker agreement. And this is a form that we fill out together, that we sign, we go over, that says, I'm going to work with you, you're going to work with me, and we're in it to win it. So that means that we're committed to each other. I'm going to spend my time helping you. We're going to drive around. We're going to look at houses. We're going to write offers. And you're going to work with me. You're not going to work with 5 different realtors until you find the one you really like. And this is now a law. So before, some realtors did it, some didn't. Now, we have to do this before we step foot into a property. So here's what you have to have. You have to have a written agreement. That written agreement has to say what we're charging and what we do for you. That has to be signed before we walk into a property. If you go into an open house, you're free game. You can do that without a realtor. But if I'm showing you on video, we still have to have that agreement signed. Here's the fun part, though. Number 4, whatever I'm charging, my job is to get the seller to pay for that. And so far, since these new changes, we haven't, this is the way we did it before. Since the changes, still basically what's happening. I haven't had a case where we haven't had the seller pay compensation. Have you yet? No, I don't think so. Right, we're good. Right. So we're going to get the seller to pay the compensation. So you don't have to worry about that. Now let's sidestep and talk about new builds. Has anyone seen any new builds going up here in Long Beach or surrounding areas? Yeah, there's a few. You would think in California there's no more room for new houses, but there is. And if we've been working together for 6 months, we're driving around and writing offers, and you're like, oh, look at this new house. And you go in and you're like, oh, I want to see it. And you sign. You have just given away your rights to work with me. You cannot go see new builds without your realtor, because if you do, they will have you sign something that says you are now working with the builder, and the builder represents you. And that's like going to divorce court and having one lawyer represent both sides. Great for the lawyer, not so great for the husband and wife, or husband and husband, or wife and wife. So when you go do this new build, make sure you go with your realtor. And it's important too, because a lot of people think, well, what do I need a realtor for? It's a new build. Nothing's wrong with it. Wrong. David can attest. He closed one recently where there was a lot wrong with the new build. They build them fast. They build them from spec. And so they make a lot of mistakes. What was it? Something wasn't connected on the last new build you did?
Yeah, it was the, I can take over here.
Yeah. Tell us about the story.
Yeah. Yeah, so I sold a new build, and it looked beautiful, but there was a lot of things like it was the dishwasher wasn't even connected. So if we ran the dishwasher, water would have just ran out. Luckily, we had an inspector come in and look at that, and we had them do it. And then there was another thing with the AC. There was an issue with the AC; it wasn't connected, and they're like, "Oh, we'll take care of that before after we close. Oh, it's part of the home warranty." And I'm like, "No. You guys are doing this before my client gets the keys." So they didn't like me, but that's fine, because that's my job to be hated sometimes, and that's okay with that. I'm fine with that. But the good thing is it all worked out. They took care of all that things. And another great thing is we were able to negotiate still. With the new build, even though they might have a price that's like, oh, this is the price, that might be the price, but there are some negotiating that can happen. For example, this person, we ended up getting the whole solar system paid for. It was supposed to be a secondary thing where they were going to have to pay $20,000 on top of it. And then I said, like, hey, my client doesn't even want the solar. Just remove the panels. It's fine. We don't even want it. And they're not going to do that. So then what they did is like, we'll just throw the solar in and just don't tell anyone about it. Don't tell the neighbor that already bought it. That's kind of how that worked, but that's why you have, like, I paid for myself there and then some. But yeah, go with us. All right. Okay. I could talk about that all day. House hunting checklist. Scout out the neighborhood in person during the day and at night. That's really important. You want to make sure you, like, say this is the neighborhood that you're gonna be. Okay, you're right off this street here. Are you okay with, it's a fairly busy street. Like, you can hear the street. Is that okay with you? Do you feel comfortable walking around this neighborhood at night or in the morning? Maybe you go walk your dog in the morning or you walk your dog at 11 o'clock at night. And like, do you feel comfortable walking around that neighborhood? Or is there parking at night? Like, I know parts of Long Beach, like Alamitos Beach area, I like that area, but parking is a disaster if you go anytime after, really most of the day. Yeah, but if it's, say, at 7 p.m., you're kind of screwed. Like, you're probably not going to find a parking. Like, I've seen people double park for hours waiting for a spot. So yeah, so make sure that if you have a parking spot, great. But if not, make sure you're okay with that. Maybe you're okay driving around for an hour. All right, consider nearby freeways, shopping activity, community amenities, all that fun stuff. Is this going to fit into your lifestyle? I like paddleboarding, but with that, okay, I'm close enough to the water where I can go paddleboarding. Or I drive a lot for work. I want to be close to an airport or close to the freeway. Those are all things you want to be aware of. And how close are you okay being to the freeway? I've sold houses where they're literally, you could put your arm out if there wasn't a wall there and touch a car. Like, are you okay with that? Because that's going to be something. Another big one is paying attention to is the noise, like, say, those cars, airplanes. I just sold a house too in Long Beach. It's a really pretty house, but it's when you look up in the backyard, you look up, there's a plane literally. I sold with Eva actually, and the planes are over your head all day long for Long Beach. So literally, no joke, it is straight ahead, and it's the path. And they didn't care. They're like, hey, we got a crazy kid. He's 10 years old. He's screaming all the time anyway. And they're perfectly happy. I see their stories all the time, and they love it there. But that's not everyone's thing. If they're like a really light sleeper or they have weird hours with work, maybe that wouldn't be something for them. Another one I like to point out, so just use your senses, I like to say. One big one is smell. If anyone wants to move to Chino because they love the smell of cow manure, then that's great. We could probably get you a really good deal because not everyone wants that. So just be aware of that. And that's something whenever you go out with us, we'll point out those things. Hey, did you hear that, that plane, or did you smell that, whatever you're smelling? Stuff to pay attention to. Another one is electricity, sewer, septic. We don't, electricity, say if you're for going off the grid, we don't typically deal with this, but if it's somewhere like in the middle of nowhere, maybe it only goes off solar. Maybe it's really is off the grid. Just something to be aware of. Also, if it's sewer or septic, we also don't deal with septic so often here. I have a listing right now in Ventura. It is a disaster with the septic because it needs to be switched out. It's extremely expensive, and a lot of cities don't even allow you to do it. They make you tie into the sewer. I could talk about that for hours. Kimberly has heard it. But just something to be aware of because we want to make sure that you know what to expect there. Also, researching the HOA. If it's an area, like say if it's a condo, I think 100% of condos have some kind of HOA or homeowners insurance or homeowners association. There's also other areas like, say, Irvine. There are a lot of single family homes there, but they are planned communities and they do have an HOA. So like, you can't just paint your house pink one day, right? But that's the kind of thing you just want to be aware of, because if pink's your color and you want to match your shirt, Rebecca, like this is the color I want my house to be, then know that you're probably not going to move to Irvine because it's not going to happen over there. Yeah. Yeah, we could find something in Lancaster. They don't care over there. All right. Service providers, just know that we have a lot of different, we have everything that you want. We have all that stuff. Yeah. It's hard for certain people. There's certain religions and certain types of people that don't want to live next to a cemetery. So that's yeah. I'd say if it doesn't bother you, you might get less offers because of that. I know I sold one recently where it did bother them that it was my listing, but a lot of people said, I don't like that I could see the cemetery over there, and I completely get that. So it just kind of, is that something that you're okay with? Okay. Well, we can get you a deal then. I will say it really depends because what you're going to be looking at, you're going to look at the comparisons in that neighborhood, and those other comparisons also are by a cemetery. So just something to be aware of. A lot of times, even cemeteries are maybe closer to freeways, which maybe not as appealing, or close to an airport, or close to some non-desirable thing sometimes. So that also might bring down that particular neighborhood or that block. Yeah. But sometimes you could get a deal if you're okay with that. Yeah. We'll just move that grade, put a house there. Yeah. Good question. All right. So this is my favorite slide. This is the journey to home ownership. Kimberly always laughs at me. All right. I will try to be a little quicker because I know we're running a little bit behind. All right. So this is a happy couple right there. Oh, great. We're going to go buy a house today. This could be you right here. All right. You got to build a team. First thing you're going to do is build your team. Again, you got us. Ta-da. All right, you're going to obtain a pre-approval so you can connect with a great lender like Eva, and she can help you with that. From there, you're going to sign an agreement with an agent, with some great agents, and then when you do that, then we can go house hunting and start looking at places. Next one we're going to do, say we find the home that you do love, then we're going to coach you on how we're going to write up that offer. We're going to explain all that to you so you know exactly what you're signing and you're prepared for that. Luckily, that's something we do all the time. Let's just say in this scenario, we got our offer accepted, which is right by a graveyard and no one else wanted to live there. So luckily we got our offer accepted and we got a good deal on it. So we have a little star there. That's any one time there's a star, that's a little happy dance that we can do. I just learned salsa, so maybe, I could work on that. All right, so then that's a happy day. And then the next we're gonna wire our EMD. So our earnest money deposit EMD, that is gonna be typically between 1% and 3% of the purchase price. You wanna have that ready to go as just part of your down payment. It's not in addition to your down payment, it's part of your down payment. So let's just say 3%, which I highly recommend that if you can do it. You put that into escrow right away. And just know that escrow is a neutral third party. They're just making sure we're all following the contract, we're all playing nice. They're going to hold all that money in the account somewhere here in the US. It's not going to some offshore account somewhere in the Philippines or somewhere else. It's going to be staying here so your money's safe. And then at the very end of escrow is when they start to disperse the money. All right, so we have all that. It goes into escrow, and then you have three main contingencies. So the main ones are going to be your inspection contingency, appraisal, and loan. The inspection, this is that time where we get that inspector to come out and we look at the property. We find out what's wrong with it. We're going to go, like Kimberly said, from the ceiling all the way to the foundation, and we're going to see what's wrong. We're going to find something wrong with it. And part of our job is to try to negotiate some things. So one I had recently was I was able to negotiate a new AC unit. The AC, it was towards the end of its life. My job was to make it seem like it was at the end of its life, and then it had like one leg. So what I did is I did that. We ended up getting an HVAC person to come out. They provided a quote saying it's going to be $12,000 to put a new AC in. We wrote an offer. We wrote a good offer because we thought the AC worked great and we had plenty of time with that. We found out that was not true. So now we have to be the bad guys, which that's the fun job for us. Is like, hey, we love the home, but we need you guys to pay $12,000 for this new AC because that's what they're expecting for us to close. Well, we do that. It could be that the seller just says, you know what, we're not gonna sell it for that. It's as is. In California, all homes are as is, so they can say no. So they could say no, and then you have the option of canceling, and then you get your full earnest money deposit back. It could be that they say, you know what, no, we can't do it. They could say, you know what, we'll cover the whole thing. Sure, $12,000, knock it off, or we'll meet you somewhere in the middle. So let's just say in this scenario, we got a new AC, which did happen. So we got $12,000 towards the AC, and it wasn't even hot then. So they probably did the AC later when they got a discount on Black Friday or something. But that's up to them, whoever's buying it. All right, so we remove that contingency. And then the next one is going to be your appraisal. So Kimberly talked a little bit about that. That is something the lender is going to require. We get someone an appraiser comes out, and they're going to say this home is worth, say we offered $500,000, and we ended up getting it appraised for $510,000. That's good. That means it doesn't mean you're paying $10,000 more. It means that you already have some built-in equity. So that's a good day. It could appraise at value. It appraises at $500,000. Great, happy. We're going to get the loan for the full amount. Or it could be the other way where it appraises at $490,000. Now you're $10,000 short. So that's when we come in again and we say, you know what, they love this home, but it's not worth $500,000. We need you guys to drop the price to $490,000 for us to move forward, or else we're going to leave. and it's back on the market. We would word it something like that, and we try to get them to work with us on that. Typically, it does appraise, but I've had a lot of times where if it hasn't, then we're able to get them to lower the price. They can also say, we'll meet you in the middle. There's a few things that can happen. But let's just say it appraised. Great. You could remove that contingency, and the last one's going to be your loan. This is that one where it's really important to follow the list that Kimberly was telling you about and try not to switch jobs in the middle. They don't lose a job. Don't co-sign on someone in the middle of escrow, that kind of stuff. But say you're good on all that, then you have your loan contingency, which would be a way out if you needed to get out. But let's just say we're good on all that stuff. Then you'd remove all those contingencies. And then your earnest money deposit could be at risk. So that 3% that you put in there, that could be at risk if you back out here. But that's typically about 7 to 14 days. You're almost at the end of escrow at that point. So we should be good. So again, we'd remove those contingencies. You're also signing right after that. That's when you get this big packet. It's great. And you get a lot of signing. And that's when we actually physically sign all these documents. And then shortly after that, you got to wire the rest of your the rest of your deposit. So say you're going to be putting 5% for your down payment. You put 3 already in for your earnest money deposit. You need to come up with the additional 2% to make it for the full 5%. All right. And then, so you do all that stuff. Then we get the fun job, or we're going to hand you the keys to your new home. She always makes fun of me. I'm like, that's how I do it. But you get to hand you the keys to your new home, and then we get to take a fun picture right in front of the house, and you can do something fun with that. All right. Okay. Any questions on this? I know that was a lot. And this is something I always say, there's always steam coming out of, I don't see any steam coming out of anyone's ears yet. Maybe we haven't had enough empanadas yet. But yeah, this is normal. Just know that this is something we deal with every day, so we can rattle it off in our sleep. But this is something we do walk you through every step along the way. We like to go over everything, so you could be like, oh yeah, I remember Kimberly talked about this. Oh yeah, David said something about this. So it kind of refreshes your memory a little bit. All right, you can look online. There's a lot of different reviews on us. You can Google both of us, and you'll see a lot. These are just a couple. This is a happy couple here. This is a great example of someone that we did negotiate some repairs. It was a flip. They did a pretty good job with it, but there were some things we found that maybe they cut some corners. So we were able to get about $15,000 off because of some things. So they actually didn't have any down payment, which was nice. Closing costs. They didn't have to pay any closing costs because we were able to get that. So they were happy, and you can look at reviews for us there. All right, we like to say keep learning. Kimberly talked about one call that we do, which is this one, the tax benefits for homeowners. That's a really good one with the CPA. You guys are doing this right now. This is the seminar. We do it on Zoom. I think the in-person's better. Myself, we do a couple other ones. We also get an inspector on for anyone that likes to know what to expect. Then that's a good one to go to. So you guys could scan this or connect with us. Kimberly's going to post it on her group as well. And then if anyone does everyone have Instagram here? If not, that's okay too. But if you do have Instagram, or even if you don't, I think it still works. You could scan all of our QR codes here, and then you could follow us. So what we like to do is we post different educational things on there. We'll also post things about, like, say, this event. We posted that on there as well. And then we just post about different listings that we have. And you also can learn a little bit about us if you don't know us. I know we do a lot of different events, and we love our community. You'll see that we're real people too. We don't just sell houses. We also care about people too. So. All right, but again, my name is David Sanchez. This is my info. This is a good one to take a photo of if you can. Just snap a photo of this. You have all of our info on there, and we're really easy to get in contact with. And then Kimberly.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for coming. I hope you guys learned something. I hope you feel empowered and not overwhelmed. If you do feel overwhelmed, that's what we're here for. We're here to guide you through the whole process and make it easy for you. Yeah, feel free to follow online. I know a lot of you do already.
All right. So this is one more time. If you guys could scan this one, actually, if you have your phone with you, it just asks you a couple quick questions, but this is just making sure that we lock you in for that $1,400. This is a newer thing we're doing. So if you guys are in there, then we'll make sure, even if it's in 5 years and you decide, oh, wait, and we're like, oh, who the hell are you? I don't even remember. Then now we're going to have your info in there, or you could pull up the email you get and be like, oh, you promised this. We will 100% give it to you. Again, assuming we're alive. Yeah. Now you're making me think about it. Yeah. All right, you could also, if you can't see it, it's also livingcalocal.com. It'll pop up on there too, or you could scan that QR code. All right. Oh, one thing we like to say, most of you guys are in Long Beach, around the area here, but we always get people that are like, oh, yeah, I live in Long Beach now, but I want to move to Texas, or which I wouldn't want to go there. But some people want to. If that's the case, if you want to go somewhere else, just let us know, and we're happy to connect you with someone that we know in different areas. And then that's it. So thank you all for joining us.